I just didn't do it. Big deal. But I'm 100% over here. You see, what we mostly think communication is talking. See, we think that communication is talking. So Mary and I meet, and I'm talking about my ski trip to Stowe, and while I'm talking about my ski trip to Stowe, Mary Ann's thinking about her trip to Aspen. So the minute I stopped, she said, "Oh, let me tell you, Tom, about the trip I took to Aspen. That was terrific. We had powder 70 inches high. We had da-da-da-da-da." And while she's telling about Aspen, I'm thinking about the Laurentians in Canada. So the minute she stops, I say, "Oh, well, wait a minute. Let me tell you about my trip to the Laurentians." Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. See, all we are is talking machines. You have these conversations where you can't wait for the person to stop talking so you can start. You get it? I mean, this is what we do. Coming from responsibility, what I have to do is to get Mary Ann to communicate all that she needs to communicate before I can get the space to communicate. So I say, that's really interesting. Good. Anything else? Great. Wow, what else? Good. Anything else in there? Anything else? Oh, that's fabulous. What else? Good. Nothing else? Good. Let me tell you about my trip to Laurentian. See, I've got to be responsible for the space into which you communicate. You no longer get to blame the whatever that is in your life for not being able to communicate. You want to communicate to your mother? She never listens to you? Great. Find out how to communicate to her. Tie her down. Stand over her while she's washing dishes. I don't care. Just do what's necessary. But see, most people will start a conversation and their mother looks at us, "Oh, well, you don't want to listen to me." You know, and that's it. You got the brain all set up. You don't have to communicate. It's perfect. Now you can go be upset. See? Communication is 100% response. It's 100% zero. Now, get this. From over here, it's 100%. See, it's also 100% from this point of view, getting it. So Mary Ann is 100% responsible from her point of view to get my communications. So being a responsible person, she'd say, "Tom, I didn't understand that. Would you please repeat that?" Or, "Tom, my mind drifted. I didn't get that. Would you tell me that again?" See, she's 100% responsible. See, it's 100-100. It is not 50-50. It's like the responsibility for a relationship is 100-100. My relationships work despite the other people. I was making it work. Great. Far out. I'm willing to, my life is such a trip these days, I'm willing to have fun despite anybody. And it's because it's 100% responsible over here. It is 100-100. It is not 50-50. Please try to get that. You will expand the space in your communications to the degree to which you'll be responsible. Now, when you start communicating, you say, I guess I want to put it out more clearly, or you just keep cleaning it up. Now, get this. It's almost impossible for you to listen. It is almost impossible for you to listen. You have this little voice going on in your head, all of us, that's going on evaluating, judging, figuring things out, thinking what we're going to do, not paying attention. This constant little voiceover in our heads all the time when we're supposed to be listening. Just take 3 seconds right now. Just listen to the little voice in your head. It's the one that's saying, "What little voice?" That one. See, that's going all the time. That's going right now. It's going over and over and over and over and over again. That is the space in which we communicate. So when you know that's there, by the way, you can't even change it. You can't say, "Okay, shut up, little voice," because guess who's saying, "Shut up, little voice"? The little voice again. It's like that. You can't, so all you can do is say, my mind is going off in 6 directions, I've got to keep coming back to get the information. Be 100% responsible to get it. Just be there. Okay, I didn't get it, give it to me again. Good. Give it to me again, great, I got it. You start doing that, the people around you will start to clean up their communications. There'll no longer be 2 of you meeting on the sidewalk and talking for 10 minutes and then leaving and not knowing what was said. It'll now be that people say, I got that, thank you. Up another level. Now, the communication is the medium in which you relate to the work world, which is the world. I just call it the work world because I'm supposed to be here talking about work, but it's all about life, if you haven't guessed it already. It's the work world is the world. So that what you need to do to handle the work world is to communicate. And if you have identified a thing within yourself that can produce value for another, then you are right on track and you need to communicate that. And you communicate that from a position that I want that person to be absolutely certain to get the value that I have to offer for them. Now what do I need to do to communicate that to them? Mailing out 30 resumes will not do it. That is not responsible communication. That's called mailing out resumes. Different story. Now, I want to turn to your partner. I'm going to do a quick little exercise here about communication. So identify your partner again. If you had to move chairs, like that, get your partner. Good. Now, the person with the longest hair or the longer hair in the partnership is A. You're A, raise your hand. Longest hair is A. Okay, put your hands down. Listen. A, you are going to ask B the following question. Now, hold it. B, I'm addressing to B now. B, imagine an employer, any job target, doesn't matter. Imagine, something you might want to go out for, it doesn't have to be real. And you're going to communicate to A the reason that A should hire you from A's point of view. It does not work to sound interested in your field. Who cares? See, nobody cares that you're interested in, water skiing or whatever. Nobody cares about that. But when you say, look, I'm going to make your line of water skis work, I get interested. So A gets to ask the question, why should I hire you? B gets to answer it in a way that satisfies A as an employer. Now listen, A, here's where your problem comes in this one. If you don't get it, you don't clearly experience the value for you as the employer, what you do is you turn to B and you say, why should I hire you? Again, you ask the question again. And B says, I got great grades. You say, why should I hire you? Now A, listen. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to rip B off. See, the way you're going to want to rip B off is when they give you some BS answer about blah, 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 blah. You're going to say, oh, that was nice. You're hired. See, most of us are not in a space to confront a friend of ours. We have it set up that what friendship is buying each other's act. See, we don't confront oh, that's not nice. Well, so you need to have at least one person in your life that's going to tell you what doesn't work. You see, so I want you to be that person for B tonight, and if it doesn't communicate clearly, say, great, why should I hire you? Don't explain it, don't apologize, don't say I was almost ready, it was almost terrific, blah, 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 blah. Just say, great, why should I hire you? So you just stay with it. Notice that you don't want to do it. Notice that your experience right now is you don't want to do it, you don't want to confront, you wish you had gone to the movies, you wish that you had not come in here, this is not what you wanted to deal with in your life. I know it. Listen, it's great. This is exactly what you have to go through to get there. Okay, now, A's, remember the question. We're going to take like 2 minutes and we're going to shift roles. Okay, ready, begin. Good. Okay, now we have covered the essential preparation, the job targets, the context of it, what is the essential communication, what is the communications vehicle that we need to handle, the context of communications, the fact that it takes a system, a delivery system, in order to take your skills and make them work in the world, that is a separate study from your skills. And we want to move into now some of the more nitty-gritty of the actual campaign. You'll notice that a lot of what you have heard, and we'll hear tonight, and what you've heard in other areas about jobs and how to find them, will make more sense to you when you have now understood some of the basic underlying context of it. You'll now see that why it makes sense to do a resume in a particular way and so forth. way to go into the job market is from a job target into the job market rather than from, let me look and see what's advertised or what's available and pick one of those. See, 85% of the jobs that are available on any given day are not advertised. See, where are they? Anybody know? See, what happens is that employment is an ongoing process. You see, so if I'm going to lay Marianne off for incompetent work, then I know that, months before she gets laid off. Or if somebody's planning to retire in a year and a half, I know that a long time before they retire. So there's many, many things go on for months before the ads are placed or before the jobs become public knowledge. As a matter of fact, somewhere around 25% of the white-collar jobs in this country change hands every year. There's a turnover rate of around 25%. So if you think about that, you begin to realize that if you picked out 10 companies in a given area, let's say the water sports area, you're Rick, right? Rich. If we pick out 10 water sports companies for Rich, we will know that in one or two of them at any given time during the year, there's probably going to be a vacancy in that graphics arts department. You see, that one graphic designer, there'll be one vacancy every 4 years for each of them, so into 10 it's 2.5 or 2.25, whatever that is. If there are two of them, then it's double that. So that by actually contacting employers, if you start to just identify who the potential employers are, then start to communicate inward to those employers, communicating the answer to the question we just covered, why should I hire you? You begin to start to create interviews. See, actually, when you go after advertised jobs, what's one thing you can be very, very sure of? 250 other people, right? You mail a resume to the Chicago Tribune or to some New York Times or LA Times, it's in a pile of 175 resumes, your little resume in there somewhere. If you go into a job where you have created the job target and where you have moved into it by doing some research, finding out who the companies are, you're the only one there for a while. So you start to be able to communicate. You start to find the person, you identify who it is. They get to talk to you on the phone. Very important to know that if you are coming from a position of what you want to accomplish, what you want to get, there are enormous resources around. I mean, there are trade journals, directories, associations. Your various placement offices here on campus have enormous resources. I mean, enormous sets of annual reports and directories and all that different stuff. There are some tricky things that you can do if you're up to it. Trade journals happen to be a gold mine. If you're interested in, we'll say with Rich, with water sports, there is a water sports trade journal, the Water Sport Industry Reporter or something like that. It comes out either every month or every quarter, you can be sure, but there are like 30,000 different trade journals. If Rich goes to the library or finds out from the publisher and gets a hold of 8 or 10 back issues of that, look what Rich can do. Number one, he can look at all the jobs that were advertised over, let's say, the last year. Now, some of those jobs advertised a year ago are going to be starting to become available again. As a matter of fact, I have had people on full-day workshops that we do, get copies of the newspaper that are 18 months to 2 years old, to look up the classified listings of jobs and call those jobs that they were just published today. And like 2 out of 5, they find that the person was just promoted, they died, they left, whatever. There's a job available. See, so use the paper 2 years old. But back to trade journals. Who was advertising for what, when? What are the new products in the water sports field? What are the new things that are making it? What are the things that are advertised? What are the new legislative or marketing considerations that people are reporting about? Who are the new companies? Where are they located? What is the jargon? Read some articles, get the jargon in the field. Who are the authors? You can get a trade journal on water sports or whatever, see that so-and-so wrote an article, he's associated with Chris Kraft, pick up the phone, call that person, get immediately through. A secretary says, what's it in reference to? I want to talk about the article he wrote. Oh, just a minute. Get right on through. Oh, you read my article, huh? What did you think of it? People, I've written articles. I love people to call me up and say, I read your article, or I read your books, or like that. You get through. Then you go into the phase of called information getting. You don't call and say, oh, I'm glad I reached you, I need a job, do you have anything? You start to talk about what it is going on in the field and what's happening and what are some of the things, and you start to go for information. And I want to tell you a very, very quick story about what you can do by getting information. I had a friend of mine about 3 years ago who got a degree at MIT in engineering. Decided he did not want to be an engineer, went off and got a master's in English somewhere. I don't remember if it was Yale or Harvard. Got a master's in English and taught English for 2 years. Then he decided that was really not what he wanted to do. What he wanted to do was make a lot of money in the stock market and wheel and deal. This was in the mid-late 60s. He wanted to really play in that stock market thing and so forth. So he set out a campaign. This is incredible. He set out a campaign where he went out and started interviewing people. He would call somebody up and say, I understand that you have blah, 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 and I'm interested in finding out more about that field. You have like 10 minutes you can spend with me to just let me discover more about what that field's about. He interviewed somewhere between 80 and 90 people. After every interview, he would write down his notes scrupulously. And there weren't interviews, they're called meetings at that stage. So after every meeting, he would say, well, who else do you know that's in this kind of area? Who else do you know that's specializing in offshore finance deals in the Bahamas or whatever it was he was in? He'd keep finding out, he'd write down. Every interview, he learned the next thing he needed to know. He went into the next interview with that much more knowledge. 80 or 90 interviews, he got a job as some kind of an assistant or something like that to a guy named Everstat, who runs the firm Everstat Company. I think he's dead now. This is like late 60s. The top deal maker of all time. Like one of those guys that runs it all under the buttons under his desk or something. Just really powerful. I got to work for him. About 2 or 3 years later, his worth was around $250,000 out of information interviews. See, out of picking up and not looking for a job. See, if you say, I'm looking for a job, do you have anything, people want to run away from you. They don't want to deal with your needs. You start saying, gee, you're an expert in your field, but maybe you could tell me some more about it. People start to communicate to you. I've been talking to Lil here earlier today. She says in her business communications class, people went out and started talking to employers in the area and found that they were getting information without, not looking for a job, you get enormous amounts of information. And then, of course, now that the employer knows who you are, say, well, gee, you wouldn't have to be looking for a job, would you? And you say, well, I might consider it, but not just yet. I'm, a little more research to do or something. See, it just switches the context. Totally switches it. So use these techniques to start to find out about who the employers are. Support yourself with some calls, some phoning, some actually participating in what employers do. You will find out about things you never, ever, ever would have heard about. Now, you're exposed to a lot of companies here on campus. Great. What are some of the other companies? What are some of the other organizations? How do you find out about them and like that? Okay, the resume. Now to nuts and bolts, nitty-gritty, down to the wire. Okay. The first thing you've got to know about the resume is that nobody cares about your resume. Please get that. Your resume is worthless. It is. I used to read resumes. I'll show you how I read resumes. I was a personnel manager and read resumes. Here's a pile of resumes. Here's the good pile. Here's the bad pile. Okay? Hey, Matt, did you get me a cup of coffee? Yeah, no cream and sugar. No, I'll get to him later. I'm busy reading resumes. That's how you read resumes. How many people here have had to read resumes ever? It's terrible, isn't it? You go unconscious. It's like pile upon pile upon pile of incoherent unconsciousness. You can't read them. So you've got to know that people don't, no one's going to say, oh my God, I got to figure this one out. Now, what did he really mean by that? Hey, let's get some people, let's figure this one out. That's it. You've got 4.5 seconds, that's it. So you've got to know that the context into which your resume is coming is not one in which somebody asks you for something. It is generally one in which somebody's very busy, they've got 100 resumes to look at. If you don't communicate like that, it's not going to get read. So know that about the resume. That's step one. Step 2, before you write the resume, take inventory. Know what it is that you want, that you have to sell, so to speak. List your problem-solving abilities. List all of your accomplishments. You see, what works in resumes is accomplishments, not duties. What did you accomplish? What are the results you've produced? What are the things that you have done that created value for others? You know, inventory then. Don't start racing into the resume, run something into a typewriter and start typing. Get a list of everything you've ever accomplished that you can think of, and then pick from there into the resume. Select a format. There are materials available in the placement department. I won't go into that. I will tell you that for college students, I recommend a functional format because it doesn't have a chronology. It doesn't dramatize your lack of work experience. I recommend functional, and you can go either way. Use action verbs. Do not write sentences that sound like I was the one who was responsible for working with the committee which was in liaison with the department that was in charge of raising money for the, whatever. See, don't write sentences. That's what your sentences read like. See, designed, directed, produced, raised funds, action verbs, lead into them, state them concisely. Designed 32-page analytical chart system. You know, produced raised $10,000 for a political campaign. Benefits, action, accomplishments, like that. Eliminate the extraneous information, please. We do not need to know how much you weigh, how high you are, how tall you are, what your hobbies are, what your is and what this is and all that other stuff. We don't need to know that. Take it off. Because see, look, you're paring it down so that the communication stands out and gets communicated. You don't need headings. You don't need to say education, colon, and list your education. Name, colon, list your name. What the hell else is it? You don't even have to say resume. What is it? It looks like a resume, right? Pare it down. That doesn't mean to leave stuff out. It means to make what's in there communicate with purpose. Let's see if there's anything else that I can find you. Okay, I'll come up to it. Yeah, there's always been a little controversy about the use of job objective or job goals. My position is to take it off the resume and put it in a cover letter. And the reason for that is that it gives your resume more flexibility. You can put it in the different directions, and the cover letter can focus the objective for that particular organization. And it's okay if you use an objective. If you do use an objective, don't use it unless it says something. Don't say, my objective is to find any position which satisfies my qualifications. That's an objective, who needs to put it down? Don't put implied stuff down. Don't put references available at the bottom. References are available. We don't have to put it in the resume. Take it off. They will ask you for references and you'll tell them they're available. Don't put stuff that you don't need to put. Remember, the purpose of the resume is to get you an interview. Period. It is not to get you a job. The interview gets you the job. The resume gets you the interview. Anything that's not necessary to get you an interview, leave it off. Make a draft of it, literally lay it out meticulously, work on it, play with it, then get it critiqued. And when I say get it critiqued, I don't mean you hand it to Marianne and say, gee, this is a nice resume, Marianne, what do you think of it? Is it nice? No, you say, hey, Marianne, tell me how this could be better. Or, I want to improve this. What do I need to do to make it better? If you were an employer, there's 3 things you would find wrong with this resume. Make it safe. This is big. This is the whole thing about correction. I don't have time to go into it tonight. But if you get somebody in your life who is willing to correct you without making you wrong, you will be a star. You have people that support you to the degree to say, hey, that doesn't work what you just did. That doesn't work. Oh, it doesn't work? No, it doesn't work. Oh, I ought to change it, huh? Yeah, you ought to change it. Okay, I'll change it. See, when you don't want to make somebody wrong and dominate them and you correct them, you have supported them immeasurably. You know, that's, you know, I get off on that tangent because I really feel like I want to do about an hour on that. It's so important, and I can't. Okay, that's the resume. Okay, this is a tactic. It's in the outline. I won't take your time with it now. Custom cover letter. Yes, very important. Every resume should go out with a cover letter. The cover letter is to the resume what a personal introduction is to the interview. A cover letter is the thing that takes a printed form and turns it into an individualized communication. Cover letter should be individually prepared for every place you're going to send your resume. 5 elements. Element number 1, address it to a person by name. Not dear sir or madam or occupant or whatever, you know, dear Mr. Dorici, you know, or da-da-da-da-da, you know, it's like that. Name, address, name spelled correctly, zip coded, all this stuff. To a person, number 1. Number 2, in the first sentence, you need to communicate something so that that person has a clear sense that this letter is done only for them. It's like some little thing about them, that meaning their organization, that keys them in immediately. It's not another form cover letter. See, there are printed cover letters that people send out thinking that that makes a printed resume better somehow. Not realizing that it makes a printed resume followed by a printed cover letter is worse. So an individual thing could be, dear Mr. Dorici, I noticed that you've opened a new shopping mall on the western side of town. So how many other Doricis are opening shopping malls, you know, so you put that in. Or dear Ms. So-and-so, I noticed that your organization has received a contract to develop audiovisual equipment for disadvantaged or handicapped children. Like that. Something that keys in, comes out of your research, comes out of something you found out about the firm. Anything can be minuscule. Next, you imply a problem. As you state something so that, see the way, you know how you communicate, one of the ways you communicate to people? You state something they're interested in. Guaranteed. See, guaranteed that if I want to say you're talking about sex withholds, nobody would leave. You know, you talk about things that people want to hear. So when you talk about a problem, you say, dear Mr. Dorici, I noticed I've opened a shopping mall in the western part of town. I would imagine that you're interested in hiring people from the community. Dorici says, yes, that's true. How the hell am I going to do that? I really want to do that. How am I going to do it? Next sentence, imply the solution. I have lived in this community for 8 years. I'm very, very familiar with the various organizations in the community. I feel that I can come in and interview and hire the people and attract the people into your organization and help get them to work. Implied solution. See, problem, solution. It's another way of saying it's problem, action, response. Another way of looking at that. Bottom line, point number 5, request an interview. I'm going to be available next week on Wednesday and Thursday. I'm planning on taking some interviews. I'd like to stop by and discuss with you any opportunity, what I've said, or meet with you and discuss this matter further, or bring you some samples of my graphic designs, or whatever. Suggest a specific, definite time and place for an interview to happen. Don't just say, if you happen to be thinking about me someday, call me up. Make it specific. And then the analysis of the opportunity, I'm not going to go into it. Anyone wants to hear about that, you can stay later. Okay. You get insides for the interview. Now you have prepared the resume and cover letter. The way you get interviews is you ask for interviews. Period. You sit down, you have researched 50 companies in your research in the directories, you get on the phone, you ask for interviews. And you communicate value. You don't say, I'm looking for a job, you have anything, say, I have an idea how my graphic design skills will apply to the water sports industry. And you start communicating that. As you put that out, you will start to get interviews. You will literally start to get interviews. You'll maybe start with 1 out of 10, you'll come up to maybe 1 out of 5, you may even get 1 out of 4. So you want 10 interviews, you make 40 phone calls, 50 phone calls. You will start getting interviews with the companies. See, remember where we started. We started over here with who we were and what we wanted to do. And we have stayed on track. So guess who the companies we're interviewing are? They're people that fit our pictures of what we want to do. See, we have created that line coming from our position called, here's what I like, here's what I'm about, moving over there. So you will start to get interviews. And one little two-letter word will start coming up, and a word that you hate and resist. Who knows what it is? Yeah, that's it. No. The whole thing that has locked every job seeker in place for years is resisting hearing no. See, we can't stand to hear no. Our life is about wanting approval, not rejection. But I want to tell you that the way it is in the world is this is the way a job campaign looks. No, 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 yes. That is every job campaign at every level that ever was. Corporate vice president, no, 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 yes. Blue collar worker, no, 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 yes. That's it. It's not you. It wasn't you. You see, it wasn't you that there. It's the process. Every job campaign is a series of no's followed by a yes. That is part of the process. That is part of the process. So what do you do with that process? The way you win is you create more no's. Far out, I got 3 no's. Boom, 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 boom. God damn, I'm going to get on the phone this week. I'm going to get 17 more no's. I'm tired of waiting around for them to come in. Boom, 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 boom. See, get yourself an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper and type 10 rows of 10 no's each and start crossing them off every time you get one. It's a trick. I mean, I've got to tell you, people will think you're crazy. You have just mastered the world. If you could handle creating no's, you have handled it all. You want a date? You just start asking. You know, like that. No, 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 no. Yes. So, I mean, that's the way it is. Now, what we do is we say, usually the way most of us do is we say, oh, it's no. You're not going to give me the offer? Give me a beer. So, handle no's. That's what comes up. That's why you will be stuck. That's why many, many, many of you will take one job out of 2 offers. Your universe of job offers might be 2 offers, and you'll take one. Okay, great. See you on Tuesday. Now, I know that it's easy for me to get up here and say it, and I want you to know that what I'm saying is the way it is. It's not theoretical. This is the way it is. If you can handle no's, you will never, ever be without a job that you don't like, that you like. And you won't be without a job that turns you on. You can handle getting on the phone. There are 425,000 employers in this country that hire more than 50 people. So you can waste a couple hundred of them. You don't have to worry about running out. There's no scarcity. So you thought there was a scarcity. Are you kidding? Okay, moving on. Phone campaign, that's in your reprint if you get that. Control the interview. Yes, you control the interview. I did not say dominated. I did not say massacre, make the interviewer wrong, threaten the interviewer, put your hobnail boots on his desk. No. You control the interview. That means that you are responsible to see that the things you want to communicate get communicated. See, what you want communicated, back to the hiring principle, what you want communicated is, why should I hire you? The value that they will get is more than the cost. See? So by controlling the interview, you just make sure that they get that. Now, some steps in doing that. Number 1, pre-planning. Yes, you've got to do some homework. See, all this stuff is going to take some work. But I'll tell you, hour for hour, all of the job campaign work that could get you 10 offers that you wanted would probably not be any more than a 2 or 3 credit course would be. And that would set you up in your lifetime. I mean, I want to tell you the payoff is enormous for this kind of effort. Pre-planning. Understand the needs of the person you're going into, not your needs, their needs. Convey benefits. Let them know why they should hire you. Same thing all over again. The beginning, here's a tactic. It's not on the outline, so write it down. The beginning of the interview, I'll give you two tactics. Before the interview, get a 3x5 card. On one side of the card, list 5 accomplishments that you want to communicate to the employer. 5 things you definitely want that employer to know about you. On the other side of the card, list 5 questions that you want to ask the employer. 5 well thought out questions that you want to ask the employer. Tactic 2. The beginning of every interview you take from now on, and it varies on the acceptance or the receptivity of the person, but ask the following question. Say, could you tell me in your own words what it is you're looking for? Then listen. Well, let's see. We want somebody that's organized and is able to do these reports and get them together, distributed, and they're organized, and they have to be able to organize, and that don't mind traveling, and they're going to have a good organizational sense. See, guess what you feed back during the interview? I organized then I organized and I'm pretty organized besides. See, get to know what it is they're looking for before you go, you start telling your story. So you find out what it is that they want to hear and communicate into that. No sense, communicating left field when they're over right field. Ask questions. Let them convince you. Don't go in, I'm dying to find out, I'm dying to get a job, like that. Don't go into it with need. Go into it and say, well, what is it? So you get to ask them, where do you think that you guys will be in 5 years? The questions they would ask you. You can ask them. See, let them sell you. I don't mean to be hobnail boots on the desk about it. I just mean to let them convince you why they present an opportunity for you. Get feedback. In the middle of the interview, say, do you feel these are the kind of qualifications you're looking for? I think I need somebody with a little more military experience or something. Let me tell you about my Boy Scout experience. See, get the feedback so you know where you stand, so you know what to put new inputs in. At the end of the interview, find out whether they're going to offer you the job or where you stand or what the next step is. Don't be shy. Don't say, people come up and say, can I really ask them that? The answer is yes. You can ask them anything you want. See, 424,999 others left. So literally be willing to be a little outrageous. Now that doesn't mean threatening and dominating. It means to find out what you want. 2 minutes on dress. Dress is communication. Dress, the way you dress is the way you are starting your communications with people. You walk into an interview, the way you're dressed, that's where the interview starts. If you've got a wrinkled suit on or a wrinkled dress on, they figure you've got a wrinkled mind. And that's where it starts. From there on, it's up or down, but that's where it starts. Dress for the result that you want to achieve, not for where you picture yourself as being now. Give it to you again. Dress for the result you want to achieve. Dress for where you want to be, not where you think you are. See, get that. You think, well, I'm a little nothing, I haven't made it yet, but I'm going to make it big, and then I'll buy some nice clothes. No, get the clothes now. If you dress for the next level up, I tell you, it's magic. If you dress for the next level up, you will find that you're in the next level faster than anybody around you. So you dress up to where you want to be, and then you find that pretty soon that's the kind of people you're hanging out with. So dress for success. Now look, a lot of people say, well, they can't tell me how to dress. This is a free country. But I say, great, okay, that's cool. What you need to do is to dress the way you want to dress, and then find a profession in which the successful people dress that way. And then go in that profession. That's cool. That's easy. If you want to wear, scruffy jeans all your life, great, find out, be a rock star or whatever. Just find out where they do that and play that way. But remember that clothes are there to support your purpose. They are your communication. They don't have an identity of their own. Okay, Here, you don't have to write these down. They're on the outline if you're going to get it. If not, write them down. These are 5 questions which summarize or contain almost every kind of question you could be asked. If you can role play and answer these 5 questions, you will have before the interview, you will have pretty well handled it. So I suggest that you role play these questions with somebody. You have somebody ask you the questions and you answer them, and and you can tape record it or you can do something else with it. But literally, look at these 5 questions. What are your strongest abilities? How do they relate to our needs? What are you looking for in a job? What would you like to know about us, and why should we hire you? Very simple. Handle those. You've handled 85% of the interview. Okay, follow up. If the game does not end after the interview, I was reading something put out by College Placement Council today. It said after every interview, send a thank you letter. No, that's wrong. After every interview, send a follow-up letter, which is not a thank you letter. It may say thank you, but what it is a recapitulation of the benefits. It is a restatement of what they're going to get out of hiring you. It's like, dear Mr. Smith or dear Miss Smith, I've been thinking about our interview list that we had last Thursday. The more I think about it, the more I see that there's some things that I can do that really can support your new project. For example, blah, blah, blah. See, repeat the benefit. Thank you letters are great. They're just a dime a dozen. Put something beyond it. Recapitulate the reason why they should hire you. And do follow up. Pick up the phone 5 days later. I would prefer you do it by phone than letter. Pick up the phone 5 days later. Call the person up. May not work in college recruiters, but it will work on other jobs. Call 5 days later and say, listen, we interviewed last week. My name's Sarah Jane. I was the one that knocked over the inkwell, remember? Yeah, that's it. That was me. And see, memory trigger. Something to get the person to see who you were, to remember. Okay, I've been thinking about what you said, and the more I think about it, the more excited I am. I think that's an incredible project. I've never heard of anything like that before, and I've got some ideas how I can make a contribution. Is it possible that we can get together again so I can let you know about that? Right up to the top. 6 people were interviewed, you're now number 1 or 2. Guaranteed. Do that. Okay, winding around the last bend, make more money. See, I told you at the beginning, this is not about money. This is about satisfaction. Still, make more money. Money is the way that you are graded. Money is how you are determined, how powerful you are, what games they're going to let you play in. It's funny, but what you'll discover is that money. See, when they're looking for somebody, one of the things I do is I try to correct bad habits that companies have in interviewing people. But see, the way as bad as it is this. So if they want somebody for an assistant vice president, they say, well, we want somebody who's going to pay like a $25,000 salary. Somebody should be making around 18 to 20. You could be the best that ever came along, and you're making 12, they won't take you. Because they say, gee, you should be making 18 or 20. You must not be that good. Money ends up signifying how well you're doing. So make money. Particularly the women in here. Women are notorious. They rip themselves off. Well, anything you happen to have around at the end of the week, it's okay. I'm not really looking for money. I just love the work. Money. See, I'm going to tell you how to handle it. If you don't want to get into the money, make it anyway and give some of it away. It's all right. But if you're going to want to play the game, play it in the professional leagues. Now, 3 or 4 or 5, I don't know how many rules about money. Rule number 1, always get the employer to name the salary first, if at all possible. You will undersell yourself. Best of all worlds is to find out before the interview begins what the salary range is. That's rule number 1. Rule number 2, there's a rule preceding number 1, which is to find out from other sources what's being paid in your job target area in different parts of the country. You have to read about it, contact the association. There's some research you can do about that. Call people up. Call an identical company 700 miles away and say, I'm doing a research project, but what salary ranges are starting, blah, blah, blah. What is that? What do you guys pay? What's the salary range that you start with? Say, oh, well, we pay, Okay, great, thank you. Do something, get some information. Okay, back to rule, whatever it was. Get the employer to name a range. Say, could you tell me what the salary range is for that? They say, yeah, well, we're paying somewhere between 10 and 12,000. Then you repeat back the top of the range. We're paying between 10 and 12,000. Well, 12,000 would be fine. Like that, no embarrassment. No, oh my God, what do I do now? I'm up for the big dollar. They're going to, it's bad. No, just, okay, 12,000 would be fine. I literally am doing workshops with women who say, no, you should go for the lower end. Because you're going to be cheaper. They want to pay you so much and you're going to get the job. You don't want that kind of job. Go for the high end. Remember that money follows value. See, the way you make more money in the world is you create more value. See, if you create value and you don't get paid for it, great. You know what you do? You create more value. And you haven't gotten paid for that? Far out. What you do now is create even more value. You still haven't even been acknowledged. No one even gave you any credit. You haven't gotten paid for it? Great. Create more value. At some point, you're going to be running that department. Then you go in and say, by the way, I want to adjust my salary with the contribution I'm making. You'll notice I'm running the department, and I will now need blah, blah, blah. See, money follows value. People go in for raises and they say, gee, I need an extra $100 a month. Who cares? See, you say, look, what do I need to do to be worth an extra $100 a month? See, you can always get more money if you can produce more value. Just please see that. It's very, very important to get that. Another rule about salary is do not accept the offer when it's given. Never say, oh, great, thank you for the offer. I'll take it. I will. I'll be there Monday. No. What you say is, good. Well, thank you very much for the offer. It sounds interesting. And I've had a lot of value, and I think there's some contribution I can make. I'd like to take a few days and just consider that, or a few weeks to consider that. I have a number of other things I'm looking at, and I just want to see how it fits in. Do not accept it there. You will want to accept it. Don't. You will want it so bad you're ready to wet your pants. Don't. Say, no, go home and think about it. And then go home and think about it. Say, well, wait a minute. Is this really what I should do? And if it's not even close, go back for more money. You are not going to want to do this. So you have a self-concept, which is, who, me, ask for more money? Is he kidding? He doesn't know how bad I am. I know. See, I know, and that's how bad everybody is. We're all that. So literally go back for more money. Call up and say, I've been thinking about that job. I think there's a really incredible opportunity there. I think there's a lot of things that I can do in that firm. A lot of value I can contribute. And there's only one thing that's getting in the way a little bit, and that's the money. I actually had my job target had been around 11,500, and your offer was 10, and I just, I feel that there's a little problem there. And I wonder if you could adjust that offer. Now, here's where it proves you. He says, well, gee, once we make salary offers, we rarely change them. In order to change it, we have to get the permission from the comptroller. He approves all the offers before they go out. It's possible. I'm not saying we can't do it. It is possible to do it, but it's, it's a little bit of paperwork if you have to do something like that at this stage. See, I know what you want to say. I say, okay, never mind. Forget it. I'll take it. Okay. Well, let me look into it. I'll get back to you. Good. Okay, bye. See, you can't win if you can't lose. If you're not willing to lose, you can't win. If you're not willing to walk out, you know why they pay Harold Janine or whoever $250,000 a year plus a $700,000 bonus? Because he'll pick up his briefcase and leave if they cut it down $1. Oh, okay, see you around, guys, you run it. Bye. See, it's because he doesn't care. If you can give it up a little bit, see, there are only 425,000 more left, You can give it up, you can get it. See, if you can't give it up, what you're going to communicate is, oh, I'll take it, I'll even take less now. Oh, I'm so sorry, I made a mistake, all that stuff. So I really want you to get that. The way you get more, and I want you to know this, that I live in a time machine, because I go out and work with MIT Alumni Association 3 weeks ago and look at people who are 15 to 20 years into their career. And I look at the resumes before people come into the workshop, so I know who I'm working with, and I see that the same graduating classes, there are people making $60,000 and people making 22. People who were making 22 didn't put out for more money earlier. You know, about 1,000 here, then compounded, then a little bit less here, a little bit less here. Mostly women, by the way. Women are 30% under at those ranges in salary, because they're not used to putting it out that way. They're saying, well, I won't do it, you know, forget it. So I want you to know that the payoff, that alone, you know, can be worth $75,000 to your career earnings if you're willing to do it. Be willing to leave. I'm not saying, well, for you, I'm leaving. You can't get me. No, it's like, hey, listen, I can understand why your salary level's that way, and I really appreciate it, and I'll do whatever I can to recommend good people to you, and I have some other ideas about what I'm going to do with my own career. Bye. Next day, you may get a phone call. Okay, make more money, and finally, the bottom line, have more fun. The whole thing is a game. I want you to stay for a second. Hold it. I know you got to do something, but stay here for a minute. I don't want to leave with people leaving. I don't want Andy with people leaving. Be 2 minutes. Can you hang out for 2 minutes? Okay, great. See, I want you to know that it's a game. What it is hold it. Let's be true to their 2 minutes. That it's a game. That what there are multiple game boards out there. And what everybody thought it was is it's all the same game, and you just got to pick the game if somebody gives you the cards and go there and play soccer. But no, I want to play hockey. Play soccer. Okay, I'll play soccer. See, so all you need to do is to identify the games that you want to play, and then find out where they're being played. You see, and life is a big game. And most of us think that life is this little teeny game board called home and TV and 6 beers in the refrigerator and a loving spouse and husband and run home at the end of the working day and jump back into this little game and play Fantasyland or Storyland. But I want to say knock that down. Move a step out. So you realize that there are real planes and real Scotty dogs and real boardwalks and real things out there that you can play with, and use the whole thing to be an experience of being in the world and creating value for others and satisfaction for yourself. This is my game. I love it. I wouldn't be able to do it if you weren't here. So I want to thank you very much for being here, and I'll stay up front as long as it's necessary to answer your questions. Thank you.